In 1801, a new nation held its breath as a bitter election ended. A desperate act by the outgoing presidency was about to trigger a constitutional crisis and redefine the balance of power forever. This is the story of Marbury versus Madison. The key players included John Adams, the outgoing Federalist president, and Thomas Jefferson, the incoming Republican. Also central were William Marbury, the aggrieved appointee, and John Marshall, the Chief Justice who found himself in the middle of this political feud. In his final days, President Adams appointed 42 new Federalist justices in what became known as the, quote, midnight appointments. Before all the commissions could be delivered, Thomas Jefferson took office and immediately ordered his Secretary of State, James Madison, to halt their delivery. William Marbury, one of the appointees whose commission was undelivered, filed a suit directly with the Supreme Court. He demanded the court issue a writ of mandamus, compelling Madison to deliver the commission. The legal basis was Section 13 of the Judiciary Act of 1789. Chief Justice Marshall faced a dilemma. Option 1. Order Madison to deliver the commission, which Jefferson would likely ignore, making the court look powerless. Option 2. Refuse to issue the order, confirming the judiciary as the weakest branch, subordinate to the executive. Marshall sidestepped the political trap by posing 3 distinct legal questions. First, did Marbury have a right to the commission? Second, if his right was violated, did the laws afford him a remedy? Third, if a remedy existed, was a writ of mandamus from this court the correct one? Regarding question 1, the court ruled yes. An appointment is complete once the president's last act, signing the commission, is performed. Marbury's claim was legitimate. Adams' appointments were valid. Regarding question 2, the court also ruled yes. Marshall asserted that a government of laws, not of men, must provide a remedy for the violation of a vested legal right. Madison's refusal was a clear violation. However, for question 3, the answer was number. Marshall found that the Judiciary Act of 1789, which granted the Supreme Court the power to issue writs of mandamus on original jurisdiction, directly conflicted with the Constitution's Article 3. The Judiciary Act was void. In this landmark opinion, Marshall established the doctrine of judicial review. He declared that when a law conflicts with the Constitution is the superior law. It is the duty of the judicial department to, quote, say what the law is. The court struck down an act of Congress as unconstitutional. The case resulted in a tactical loss and a strategic victory. Marbury lost his case and never received his commission, a short-term win for Jefferson. But for the Supreme Court, striking down the law established the long-term, far greater power of judicial review. The conflict was between Section 13 of the Judiciary Act of 1789, which granted the Supreme Court original jurisdiction in cases like Marbury's, and Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution, which did not include those cases. Marshall concluded the act was unconstitutional. The lasting words of the decision emphasize that the Constitution is a, quote, superior, paramount law. It is the duty of the judicial branch to interpret the law, asserting that a law repugnant to the Constitution is void. The U.S. is a government of laws and not of men. The principle of judicial review established in Marbury versus Madison is the foundation of the Supreme Court's authority as the guardian of the Constitution. This power was later used in cases like Brown versus Board of Education and Bush versus Gore. Let's reflect on the historical context, the fiercely contested election of 1800, which led to John Adams's final attempt to cement Federalist power through the midnight judges' appointments. Consider the first key question. Why did Marbury versus Madison emerge from the political conflict between Federalists and Democratic-Republicans, and how did that rivalry shape the early American government? The case highlights a key historical focus, the Supreme Court asserting authority and securing its role as a co-equal branch, even without the power of direct enforcement. The second question for reflection is, how did Chief Justice John Marshall use Marbury versus Madison to establish judicial review, and why was this decision considered revolutionary at the time? The modern relevance of this decision lies in the court's role in declaring laws unconstitutional, a power that continues to impact every aspect of American life. This leads to our third question. Why is the principle of judicial review still essential to modern Supreme Court decisions on issues like civil rights, executive power, and federal laws? The lasting impact of Marbury versus Madison solidified the system of checks and balances, placing crucial limits on both congressional and presidential authority. Our fourth question is, how does Marbury versus Madison continue to shape the balance of power between the three branches of government today? Finally, we engage in big-picture thinking about constitutional interpretation and the rule of law. Consider this concluding thought. What might the United States look like today if the Supreme Court had never claimed the power of judicial review in Marbury versus Madison?